A proposal in California would require landlords to allow pets in their properties. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today, and this goes off the issue of pets inside your rental property. So obviously a lot of landlords, myself included, do allow pets, but we may charge pet rent or have a pet security deposit, if a tenant wants to have a pet in the property, right? So Los Angeles County wants to take the ability of a landlord to deny a tenant with pets away. Not just Los Angeles County. I guess this is about all of California because this proposal is going to be statewide. So, it's one of those things where, once again, I believe that this should be up to the landlord, the individual landlord, to determine whether they want to allow pets in their unit or they don't want to allow pets in their units. And this is one of those things where I keep talking about how, especially in the state of California, there's a lot of government overreach where the government wants to step in and be the middleman within the transaction. So, I covered videos where, okay, well, the government, says that you can only evict for A, B, or C reason. Or the government says that you can only raise your rents X high, okay? Or the government says that you cannot use these screening criteria. You can't look at a tenant's criminal history. You can't look at their eviction history. You can't look at their credit history. The government says all this stuff, right? And they make it so hard to be a landlord that they literally are driving landlords straight out of the state. They're driving them out of business, and they're driving the ones who want to stay in business out to other states. And so the result is you end up with less housing available, and the housing that is available is a lot less affordable. So it's a negative for the tenants. All these laws they pass, all these rules, all these regulations, and this whole pet thing where they want to require landlords to accept pets, it's going to do the same. It's going to be just as bad as all that other stuff, okay? Because a landlord now will have to accept the fact that, hey, I'm going to deal with these sorts of damages in my property because I can't deny a tenant who has a pet. And that means that you will have to have higher rents in order to cover those damages. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So what do you think of a law that requires landlords to accept pets in their unit? Do you think this is a good idea or a bad one? Now, like I said, I accept pets, but I also understand why a landlord might choose not to accept them, okay? You end up with a lot more just general wear and tear on your property. In some cases, you may end up like I did with a cat who just, sprayed the walls, and, we're having to use kills on the walls to try to cover up that cat pee smell. Okay. I mean, it is a lot more work to clean up a unit, and it just isn't worth it for a lot of landlords. So I understand why the landlords may be saying, hey, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it at all. It's just the same kind of issue that you deal with when they tell you, well, you have to accept Section 8. It's a lot more work, and I don't want to deal with it. Some of us, we just want to kick back, take things easy, and not deal with the stress. But it seems like the cities, the counties, the states, they just want to put additional stress on us. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from abc7.com, and it says, pet rent and bans for California rental properties could disappear under new law. And I believe that the law basically would make it so that landlords can no longer charge pet rent on top of being forced to allow these pets. So yeah, this sounds like a horrible idea to me. But anyway, let's see what the article says. Melissa Mesmer and her 4-year-old dog Snowflake are inseparable. I hate it when they go into these human interest stories. Oh, we're going to find somebody with a pet and then interview them. Listen, let's talk about the actual issue and not this one little anecdotal experience of this tenant here. I've had him since he was 4 months old, Mesmer said. He means my life. He's my world. In spite of his small size, it took a lot of work to get Snowflake to be allowed to move into the apartment complex where Mesmer rents. I needed to show a pet license for the city of Orange. I needed to show all his rabies vaccinations, she said. Obviously, vaccinations up to date, and then the pet fee. Mesmer's pet fee was a $250 deposit plus monthly pet rent. She now supports a new California bill, AB 2216, that would prohibit hefty pet fees and blanket pet bans in rental units. Oh, so they want to prohibit hefty pet fees. Now, I don't know what their definition of hefty is, right? But considering the fact that pets do 100% do cause more damage to a rental unit than just the people living there, then I see no problem with there being a pet security deposit and additional pet rent. So, it bothers me that, once again, it's going to be people who don't rent property who set what these fees or what these limits on the fees that we charge are going to be. And it seems to be pretty common, where you have, I have a community activist is the one who knows how much it's going to cost to repair a property after pet damages it. A community activist who doesn't own any real estate, never done a repair a day in their life, yet somehow they magically know that I'm going to have to replace the carpet and how much it's going to cost, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is a joke, okay? I think that a lot of people can't afford to live already as it is. It's so hard. The only thing is them being responsible for their pets. That's the only I would ask for, Mesmer said. And here's my question, right? If you can't afford to live, why do you have a pet? Why do you have a pet? I mean, let's be honest here. If you are so destitute that you can't afford your apartment, you don't need a dog, okay, or a cat. That is a dog or a cat are the least of your worries. You need to make sure that you don't lose your housing. San Francisco Assemblyman Matt Haney says 70% of California renters have pets, but only 30% of available rentals accept them. Landlords, including brand new buildings, can just say no dogs, no cats, period. And that is making our housing crisis a lot worse. His bill will require landlords to have a reasonable excuse not to allow pets in a rental property. Whether it's a health or a safety or some stated reason, not just a blanket pet ban that excluding the majority of renters from an opportunity to rent there. Like I said, this should be up to the landlord. It should not be up to this stupid politician. And probably what this comes down to is the politician owns a pet and is a renter. And I had a hard time finding somewhere to live, so I'm gonna screw all these no. I'm sick of people with their own self-interests in mind without even thinking about the consequences, the unintended consequences of this sort of thing, right? And they're like, well, why are rents so unaffordable in California lately? Well, after they abolished pet rent, right, landlords had to compensate by just raising the rent on everyone. Okay, all the rents went up. So now housing is less affordable and it's much, much more difficult for people who don't have pets to afford their places as well. In addition, landlords would only be allowed to ask about pet ownership after a tenant's application has been approved. The California Apartment Association is concerned over the bill's impact on rental housing providers. Deborah Carlton, CAA's Executive Vice President of State Government Affairs, said, "The bill does not allow for an increase in security deposits, potentially limiting landlords' ability to cover pet-related damages." Yep, and I know that's the intent, okay? Their intent is to make it so that people can have a pet in their property. They don't have to pay additional pet rent. They don't have to pay an additional pet security deposit. And a landlord can't reject them regardless of the fact that it might be a more aggressive breed that the landlord does not want in there, or it might be some exotic pet that the landlord does not want in there. And so, the end result is it's a lose-lose for landlords, okay? I don't understand why they think this is a good idea, okay? When you pass new legislation, you have to look at all the stakeholders and you have to say, okay, what kind of legislation can we pass that may be mutually beneficial for both the landlord and the tenant? Otherwise, the landlord is going to react in ways that are unpredictable, and or maybe they are predictable. Like I said, the first thing you're going to see is security deposits in general are just going to go up. I mean, if that's even legal, for them to increase even more. Rent in general is going to go up, regardless of if you have a pet or not, okay? And it's going to be a lot harder for landlords to meet, they're going to screen tenants better, okay? You might not say that you are rejecting somebody because they have a pet, but believe me, it's still going to happen. It's still going to happen. Landlords are going to be like, yeah, I don't want this person in there with their Great Dane living in my 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. So anyway, let me know what you think of this whole situation down in the comments below.